your chat doesn't know is that this is the last day you will ever see Noah, me, any other Jewish content creator, even the secret ones like Mr. Beast, because it's no longer safe.
So cute, my little Hasanito. Okay, Kamala Harris is talking to Brett Baer on Fox News.
What was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress,
adopted,
to actually strengthen the
and
border.
apparently it's not going well.
That
First question was, how many illegals did you let in?
1,500
Then he interrupted
more
her and
border
she
agents
said,
at
I'm
the
not
border,
finished,
which
she
is
didn't
why I
care.
believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
6 Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States political games with the issue,
I hear you.
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it. These are the 6 Democrats. But more importantly, back to the original premise, Jocelyn Nungari, Rachel Morin, Laken Riley, they are young women who were brutally assaulted and killed by some of the men who were released at the beginning of the administration, well before a negotiated bipartisan bill. Former President Clinton actually referred to Laken Riley Sunday,
and there's
campaigning for
nothing
you in
you can
Georgia,
do about
saying
it
if those
because
men
you've
had been
completely
properly vetted,
adopted the right-wing
Laken
framing on
Riley
immigrants
probably-
constituting a national security threat.
Why the fuck is she talking to Fox News
This is well
3 weeks
before
before?
any
Like,
negotiation.
like you're just giving
This is
them
well
like,
before
all right,
Donald
here's a bunch of
Trump got
clips they're going to
involved
use
in
against you.
politics.
Have
This is
fun.
a specific policy decision by your administration.
It's because
to
Brett,
release
and
these
they
men
thought
into
he'd
the
be like
country.
more
So what I'm
reasonable,
saying to you,
probably.
do you
Foolishly.
owe those
Got the big
families
brain on Brett.
an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There's no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be 9 months that we would have had more border agents at the border, more support for the folks who are working around the clock trying to hold it all together.
Madam Vice President.
To ensure that no future harm would occur.
She's also
and
very
this
bad at
election
contested
in 20
stuff.
days
It sucks, man.
will determine
Yeah.
whether we have a president of the United States who actually cares more
Oh,
about
boy.
fixing a problem, even if it is
Oh,
not to their
boy.
political advantage in an
Oh,
election.
bro-
Because there was
buddy.
a solution, Brett.
Oh, the
Madam Vice
brigading
President, it
has
was a
started,
policy
baby.
decision in the early part of your administration. I will let
500
one of the mothers
comments.
talk about it. Take a listen.
Because of the Biden-Harris administration open border policies catch and release,
In an hour.
they were enrolled in the Alternatives to Detention program. This meant that they were released into the United States. It was not even a full 3 weeks later that they would take my daughter,
It's cool that
Jocelyn
Kamala is
Nungary's
just
life.
viewing
I believe the
Breitbart.
Biden-Harris administration open
Yeah.
border policies are responsible
She's
for
dialed
the
in
death
on the
of my
immigrant
daughter.
crime tab.
That's the early days. So do you owe them an apology is what
I
I'm
will
saying.
tell you that I am so sorry for her loss. I am so sorry for her loss. Sincerely. But let's talk about what is happening right now with an individual who does not want to participate in solutions. Let's talk about that as well.
But do you
Brett,
want to answer?
in all fairness, I told you, I feel awful she and her family have experienced.
During that time, you said repeatedly that the border was secure. When in your mind did it start becoming a crisis?
I think we've had a broken immigration system transcending, by the way, Donald Trump's administration even before. Let's all be honest about that. I have no pride in saying that this is a perfect immigration system. I've been clear, I think we all are, that it needs to be fixed. We need more. I was just down at the border talking with border agents, and they will tell you, and I'm sure
He's
you
addicted to
probably,
saying the
I
word
know
border.
you investigate and you are a serious journalist. They will tell you, we need more judges. We need to process those cases faster. We need the support for those cases that should be prosecuted. They need more resources, and Congress ultimately is the only place that's going to get fixed, Brett.
Well,
that's how this system works.
That's the premise of this question.
But
There were
that's how the
90
system
plus
works.
executive orders that were rescinded in the first days. Many of those were Trump border policies. I'm not going to stay here because there's other things to talk about, but you frequently talk to the Border Patrol Union for support of that bipartisan bill, and they did. They supported it. But they also just endorsed Donald Trump and said, you've been, quote, a failure with border security. Why do you think they said that?
I think they're frustrated, and I get it. They want support. They want support, and that's what that border security bill would have done. These guys down at the border, these men and women, they're working hard. They're working around the clock. I get it.
There's a lot of people that look back at what you said in 2019 when you first ran for president. And there have been changes, and you've talked about some of them. When it comes to immigration, you supported allowing immigrants in the country illegally to apply for driver's license, to qualify for free tuition at universities, to be enrolled in free health care. Do you still support those things?
Listen, that was 5 years ago, and
Oh,
I'm very
fuck
clear
you.
that I will follow the law. I have made that statement over and over again, and as Vice President of the United States, that's exactly what I've done, not to mention before.
If that's the case, you chose a running mate, Tim Walz,
game, brother.
governor of Minnesota, who signed those very things into state law.
GG's.
So do you support that?
I just don't understand why the Democratic Party legitimately thought that adopting right-wing framing born out of complete hysteria, like this is made up. The idea that undocumented migrants constitute a national security threat to America is a made-up idea.
Thing.
Like it's
Most people like immigrants.
Yes, and that's the reason why every time people are polled on this issue, 64% of them say they want mass deportation, and then 63% of them say they want mass amnesty for undocumented migrants. Everybody loves migrants. They just think that there are migrants out there that they do not know that are doing shadowy, scary fucking things. Okay? And those guys should be deported. Why do they think that? Because there is a massive communication gap. The right wing have completely captured the overall consensus on this issue, and they consistently pummel hateful, dehumanizing, nonsensical shit like migrants are out there raping and pillaging American fucking suburbs every day. And it's bullshit. When you look at the actual fucking crime data from Customs and Border Patrol's own fucking apprehension numbers, it's 24. Undocumented immigrants in the fiscal year of 2024 have caused 24 murders. Okay? It is fucking crazy. And now she's going to get hit with the trans thing, and then she's going to be transphobic. Watch.
Every transgender
The
inmate
question
in
you
the
have to
prison
ask yourself, we've already seen this ad many times. The question you have to ask yourself is this. If you believe that undocumented immigrants are fucking slaughtering American citizens, then why would you ever vote for the Democratic Party? Okay? Why? You'd be like, I'm going to go with the undocumented citizen murdering party, which is the Republican Party. You would never vote for the Democratic Party for that reason. If Bernie Sanders was running for president and the Republicans were like, oh, actually, Medicare for all is a great idea. We believe in Medicare for all. Would you fucking vote for the Republican Party because now you think they are the Medicare for all party, or would you vote for Bernie Sanders? You'd vote for the guy who's been advocating for it for 70 fucking years.
Transition.
Her
you know what,
answer
you gotta
is
take
Trump did it
responsibility for
too,
what
which
happened
is
in your
so crazy.
administration.
Yeah,
Because
no
once
surgery.
again, right-wing framing. It's bad when we do it. It's bad when Trump did
Using
it.
taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment
I will
surgeries.
follow the law, just as I
will follow
think
the
Donald
law.
Trump would
I
say
will
he
follow
did.
the law.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan
What fear?
in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
It's not the
plans
worst
for the
way to
American
answer
people,
it.
I'm offering
Like,
a
just be
plan
like,
to
nobody
deal
cares
with
about this.
affordable housing.
Trump did it too.
I'm
No
offering
one
a
cares.
plan
It's
to
not a
deal
bad thing. It's
with
just
what we need
fucking
to do to
medical procedure.
strengthen
Shut
small
up.
businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently
Goldman
the Wall
Sachs,
Street
baby.
Journal, which
Goldman
have all
Sachs
studied our
Sachs,
plans
which, by
and
the
have
way, polls
indicated
awesome.
my plans
With
for our
millions
economy
of
will
Americans.
strengthen our economy.
Dude, when I go to the fucking rural Wisconsin areas, I'm always thinking like, I'm always saying Goldman Sachs trusts me.
Dude, when I'm in an Iowa diner,
Yeah.
everybody is talking to me about how much they
When you
love
look at
Deloitte,
an
they love
analysis of
Bank of
our
America,
plans for what
you
we
know?
would do as
Yeah, no,
president of the
that's like
United States.
Pennsylvania. I'm
It
going to
has
win
been
Pennsylvania with this
clear
narrative.
to
The
those
Goldman
who
Sachs
study
loves me.
and understand how economic policy works, that moving forward, because I do believe the American people are ready to turn
She's
the page
pandering to Fox News
on the
viewers.
divisiveness.
That's really interesting
and
because she
the-
said
the
that on Univision, MSNBC, CNN, and every fucking town hall that she's ever conducted so far. So it's not just the Fox News viewers that she's pandering to.
and a plan that is sound and will strengthen our country. My plan for the economy does exactly that. His plan would be, again, to give tax cuts to billionaires and the biggest corporations in our country and blow up our deficit.
It's interesting you said turn the page, Madam Vice President. You were
talking.
asked on 2 different shows last week what, if anything, you would do differently than President Biden. Here's what you said.
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not
man, I
a thing
love
that
how the
comes
light
to
goes out of her
mind
eyes
in
in
terms
that
of,
one.
and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
I noticed.
And so that would be one
She's going to make the
change.
Twitch subscription $5 again because I'm running a 3-minute ad break at the top of the
I'm going to
hour.
say with, 28 days to go, I'm not Donald Trump.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency. And like every new president that comes in to office, I will bring my life experiences, my professional experiences, and fresh and new ideas. I represent a new generation of leadership. I, for example, am someone who has not spent the majority of my career in Washington, D.C. I invite ideas, whether it be from the Republicans who are supporting me, who were just on stage with me minutes ago, and the business sector, and others who can contribute to the decisions that I make about, for example, my plan for increasing the supply of housing in America and bringing down the cost of housing, addressing the issue of small businesses, which is about working with the private sector to bring more capital and access to capital to our small business leaders, including my plan for a $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers and for small businesses, extending the tax deduction from $5,000 to $50,000.
We've heard a lot about those plans in recent days. Your campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years, so what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other. Rhetoric and an approach to leadership that suggests that the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down instead of what we all know. The strength of leadership is based on who you lift up. The strength of an American president, which is one who understands that the vast majority of us have more in common than what separates us.
Madam
That
Vice
is
President, more than
turning the page.
70% of people
That is
tell
about turning the
pollsters-
page on rhetoric that people are frankly exhausted of, Brett.
More than
People
70%
are
of
exhausted.
people
Brett is
tell
fucking
the
cooking her
country is
because
on the
these
wrong
are
track.
the very obvious
track.
weaknesses
If it's
that you can expose in an objectively bad
Track
campaign.
follows three
How
and a
much
half
do you-
years
I'm
of
trying to
you
imagine
being
how they
vice
prepare
president and
to
President Biden being president.
do so
That
well,
is
like she's
what
doing
they're
right
saying.
now.
79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for
I gotta bounce,
3.5
I gotta see
years.
Matt.
All right.
I'll be back.
And Donald Trump has
you
been
later.
running for
Bye, Chad.
office.
But you've
since-
been the person
Come
holding
on,
the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking
Everything, right?
about. You and I
yeah.
both know what I'm talking about.
I actually don't. What are you talking about?
What I'm talking about is that over the
gotta
last
pee.
decade,
But you're
people
the
have
lever of
become.
power.
But Listen, over the last decade, it is clear to me, and certainly the Republicans who are on stage with me, the former chief of staff to the president, Donald Trump, former defense secretaries, national security advisor, and his vice president, one, that he is unfit to serve, that he is unstable, that he is dangerous, and that people are exhausted with someone who professes to be a leader who spends full time demeaning and engaging in personal grievances and it being about him instead of the American people. People are tired of that.
If that's the case, why is half the country supporting him? Why is he beating you in a lot of swing states? Why, if he's as bad as you say, that half of this country is now supporting this person who could be the 47th president of the United States? Why is that happening?
This is an election for president of the United States. It's not supposed to be easy.
I know, but
it's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be a cakewalk.
So are they misguided, the 50%?
Listen,
are they stupid? What is it?
I would never say that about the American people. And in fact, if you listen to Donald Trump, if you watch any of his rallies, he's the one who tends to demean and belittle and diminish the American people. He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
He was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you...
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it. And this is what is at stake, which is why you have someone like the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying what Mark Milley has said about Donald Trump being a threat to the United States of America.
He's quoted in the Bob Woodward book that way, yes. Let me ask you this, Madam Vice President. You call Donald Trump...
The significance
you
of that.
call Donald Trump... he's misguided. You say now
he's unstable. He is unstable, Brett.
He's not well. You say he's mentally not stable.
He's not stable.
Let me ask you this. You told many interviewers that Joe Biden was on his game, that ran around circles on his staff. When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room. And he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
Okay, people, I need to make an announcement. I did not time this so that one Jewish guest of mine would be swapped out for another. Okay. And I know that everyone is going to say Noah's back, because they were calling Noah Felix earlier. I'm under attack for fostering anti-Semitism in this community, and you guys are being anti-Semitic right now.
Well, I mean, as everyone knows, Shy David I was finally banned from Columbia campus.
Oh, we'll get to that.
That's how Crystal Knock started the first time.
I'm so happy that you were able to demonstrate your bravery by coming here on a day of mourning for you.
Well, it was kind of like, if people remember the freeway mission from the new Modern Warfare 2. I was fighting off JVP convoys and everything, jumping from car to car. It was very harrowing.
Yeah. Anyway, we're watching Kamala get fucking kind of cooked by Brett Baer on this Fox News
Iran
interview
has
that I
American
don't know
blood on
why
their
she's
hands.
doing.
Okay.
But
attack
we'll
on
get
Israel,
back to all of
200
that in a
ballistic
second.
missiles.
I don't get the point of going on Fox
what
News
we need to do
when you're like
to
if you're not prepared to be like, yeah, Biden's cooked.
Oh no,
you
yeah,
know?
she got questioned on that too. And Brett was
Highest
like,
priority.
75% of Americans want to change of attitude.
Experts
and
thought you would say
you
China.
are not representing that
the
at all.
FBI director had said
so
that.
confusing.
But you said Iran. If that's the case, what do you say to critics who look at the actions of your administration and say you're not acting like Iran is the #1 threat?
Well, I will tell you most recently, whether it was in April or in October, and then several
I'm not
hours
anti-Semitic,
on
look at my
each
Jewish friend,
occasion
yes.
that Iran
That's what I'm
posed
doing
a
today.
threat to Israel. I was there. Most recently in the Situation Room, in the most recent attack, working with the heads of our military and doing what America must always do to defend and to support Israel in
What the
its
like?
requirement to
Did
defend
they
itself.
prepare her at all
and to
for this
give
interview? Like, this
American
is-
support
He gives her
to
like
be
an
able to allow
extremely
Israel
loaded question,
to have
which is
the
like,
resources
you know, you say Iran is like the
attack,
biggest threat,
including
but you're
from Iran and
you know you're
Iran's
only giving
terrorist proxies in the
$10
region.
billion to Israel every
that
couple
is-
months.
Proxies were
And
from
her
my
response is,
commitment
I
to
went
that
to a bunch of meetings
is
about
unyielding
this.
and unwavering.
Critics
Like,
just
this
say that
is
you
why
either
it's
relaxed or
bad
failed to enforce sanctions
for
on
someone
Iran,
who, like,
allowing all of this money
only
to
ever
flow
got
into
their
Iran. Like
positions
billions
let's
through
go
like
back to
the
Donald
weird
Trump,
inner workings
who
of the
pulled
California
out of- who
Democratic
pulled
Party.
out of a deal
The
that
drawback
would have
of putting
actually
them on a
put
national stage.
Iran in
Who was she truly tested against? Linda Sanchez, like who? You know, she just was not prepared for this at all. Like, put aside the weird stuff of like, oh, Biden's perfectly mentally competent, that's why he's standing down. She just doesn't seem ready for any hard question at all.
But this has been the case since Dana Bash. Like every time she's on, she just has like the Kamala bot operating on the same talking points with the same exact
full assessment of the
cadence
facts,
too, like down to the
which
fucking wire,
includes-
down to the letter.
I think this interview is supposed to be about the choices that your viewers should be presented about
now she's gonna
this
bitch about the
election, and the
interview. You chose
contrast
to
is
do
important.
it.
Yes, ma'am.
And on
we-
the subject of Iran, I am offering
I'm the #1 Iran
what
mutilator.
should be an important
like-
contrast that is presented for folks to make a
And there
decision
are
that
critics
they
who
feel.
look at what the administration did and say and think differently. Madam Vice President, they're wrapping me very hard here. I hope you got to say what you wanted to say about Donald Trump. There are a lot of things
There's more to say. I have much more
there
to
are
say,
a lot of
actually.
things that people want to learn about you and your policies,
Yes.
and that's why we
I
invited
invite
you
everyone
here.
to go to kamalaharris.com, and you will see that I have 80 pages of policies that are quite comprehensive
Are you
and
hungry,
should
by the
be
way?
I can eat.
accessible to
Ooh, you
anyone
want some
who would
Middle
like to
Eastern
read
food?
them.
Yeah, let's
and it
do it.
includes what I intend to do about affordable housing, what I intend to
Like,
do
I'm
about small
gonna eat
businesses,
straight
what I
chicken,
do
but, like,
That's why
intend
we
to
invited
strengthen
you
our
from
economy.
to
is a
see where you
banger.
were in 2019 and
to
where you are
support
now.
I might have
America's
ordered for you
military and ensure
before.
we have the most lethal and best fighting force in the world.
Madam Vice President,
And
they're giving me a hard rap.
Well, I thank you for the time.
I want the
Thank you
most
for the
lethal
time.
fighting
Good to
force,
meet
I
you.
Thank you very
promise.
much.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, I know that place.
Yeah, I love this place. Do you
Okay,
want?
Let me see.
let's
let
bring
me
in our
pull up
panel.
the menu.
Martha McCallum, anchor and executive editor of The Story with Martha
You want
McCallum.
a
Dana
homogen?
Perino, co-anchor of America's Newsroom, co-host
The-
of The Five, and Harold Ford Jr.,
what do Kim
former Tennessee
Kardashian-
Congressman,
Kardashians
co-host
call,
of The Five.
Armenian
Dana, I'm going to
pizza?
start with you. What's your
That may be a
takeaway?
little too heavy.
One,
Okay.
I think
Here,
it
you-
is
I'll just
great that
okay,
she
whatever
did the
you want.
interview
Just
with
don't show
Fox,
it on
and I
screen.
think that
I
it was
won't.
amazing that you were the interviewer. I think that that was an incredible 30 minutes, well spent by both of you. Now, I would say
We will
I
get
thought
back
some
to the
of her
Kamala
answers were
interview
a little
with,
bit thin.
on Fox News as I am in an anti-Semitic way giving a lactose intolerant man Turkish food, which is heavy on the lactose front, what you could probably consider an act of chemical terrorism.
現實係啊，風風風風你，先做開眼是冇不都飛。